Yo, what's up guys? New Siege video. It's been a while since I did Siege. Been busy on a lot of stuff like the Artifact series, on some RTA stuff, and didn't do too much Siege as of recently. But here we have Siege. And starting off with my typical team, and this is somewhat of a tricky thing to use it into. I did, however, change my Iris for this team specifically to make my Iris do quite some damage as well. It's like speed, attack, attack on pretty high additional damage artifacts. But in this case, it's looking somewhat dire for how we're going to win this, right? So, yeah, actually not great at all. We can trade the 1-for-1 there, but as you can see, Iris does pretty good damage actually for the unit itself. You don't really need crit rate, crit damage on it, just damage by itself is already pretty decently, I would say. But yeah, good thing that the monkey still does some damage as well. Is this a tricky hit in this kind of shape or way? Yes, definitely. I wouldn't really recommend to do this. In general, I've seen some people try to do this team as well, but you need some pretty good runes for it to make it work, I would say. Then I was trying my cookie team with the Lucian and the Kabila. Technically, this cannot really be outsped by anything. Issue, however, is if they're both somewhat anti-Lucian, you do need a Lucian that's around 250 speed. And 250 speed Lucian makes it that he doesn't do too much damage, especially not if there is some anti-stuff. In most cases, I would say that the Camilla is pretty decent for the cleanup. Maybe I should have used S2 there and maybe would have done a little bit more. In that case, I wasn't sure if the S2 would have killed the middle unit there right away. So yeah, if the Camilla wasn't stunned, maybe had a small chance. But in this case, this thing is definitely not going to do it because this is just triple fight. So that's kind of a wasted hit. I think this offense works better on net force because it's harder to tank in general. Then the redemption arc for this team, which, well, most of the time I use this with the Nefties right now. It's no longer near as good or even close to as good as it used to be what I had with the Amber. But since the Amber doesn't really work anymore, then this is kind of the way option to make it work. And the main reason why this works is because Neftis does a decent amount of damage, but the robo is also based on damage. So you kind of have to have both on damage to make this work. And then it's not a bad team. And this one, I would say this one was pretty interesting in general. Simply, I didn't actually have a healer. Well, technically the monkey could heal itself, and the other two units could just sustain out, or, well, not really sustain, but just tank out until, well, stuff died pretty much. Fun fact is also he didn't have any healer, so therefore I could use this kind of team. He did start to do quite some damage, but at some point you also notice that just the skill 2s of these units kind of start draining their HP by quite a lot. And the moment that I killed at least 1 or 2 units already before those 2 units died, I would have been in a good spot. Also very good odds that the monkey wouldn't have been hit by the Bella if the water unit, if the Yanghua was already on lower HP. So in that case, I don't think it was really unsafe at all. Well, this team, this is one of those teams that pretty much always works. The more you have of this team, the more free wins you have in Siege 9 out of 10. Simple thing is, what you just want to do is you always want to use your Belial S2 only when you just came back from a revive. And make sure that the other 2 units are tanky enough, fast enough, you're max skilled. You make sure you always do those freezes on the Theomars, because that freeze also gives the slow also means Theomars less damage. So that just makes it very simple. You do also the speed up with that kind of stuff. You can also have the slow from the chilling. So there's just a lot to it with this team that I would say this is the freest of free offenses in the game right now. Let me know in the comments what you guys would say is your highest success rate offense that you have. Pretty curious about that. Let's see if we can have some cool stuff. Sometimes this does happen, so technically he gets an instant turn, but an instant turn is cancelled out by a Bioproc. But in the end, that doesn't really matter. Like, as you can see, they don't do all too much damage. There are odds when Norris starts stacking a lot of debuffs on the Windy, and the Windy might tend to die at some point. Odds of that happening is somewhat slow, but it can happen from time to time. But even then, I've seen plenty of matches where the Camilla is like, yo, I'm fast, I'm high on HP, I'm tanky as fuck. I still win, easy. So yeah, that part is definitely something that, if you have Camilla, if you have Belial, definitely recommend to build these teams. If you have multiple Camillas, multiple Windies, you can also fit something else on the Belial slot, but this is just in general like a super safe, pretty much wins against everything, kind of weird ass team that's just insanely good. That's all there is to it. I would say for offenses currently it doesn't get much better than this. But Camilla's also pretty busted out. Then a team with the Cassandras. So in this case I was like, okay, if they even use their skills, there's pretty good odds that I would have too many debuffs and that he doesn't land anything. Interestingly enough, that thing had a lot of HP. My Fire Cassandra is Vio, so that made that a little bit more easy. Was this maybe slightly of a tricky hit? Yeah, I would say so. But that was a lot of HP on that Molly actually. Well, there was a HP lead, so that does kind of help. But yeah, a combination of a team like this is always kind of fun. I should kind of speed up the Cassandras to make this more safe, but still pretty fun of a team. And then the one and only Grogan team. Well, I can't really miss with this, right? To be honest, I added extra damage on fire in here because I was like, okay, as long as I kill the Perna, I'm probably good to go. And let's see how much that does. 72k on the Perna. Yeah, Grogan does do a lot of damage. That never changed. Then my new unit, I kind of tested it out on somewhat of a weird build. Wouldn't really say that that is the most optimal build for it. Mostly you want to have it a little bit faster, 100 crit rate. Don't need 100 crit rate here with the cookie, of course. I was like, let's just test and see how much damage that does. 90k. Not sure if there was minus stuff on that unit. I did have some extra damage on light though, but it was mainly attack increasing effect. Like I've mentioned it before in other videos, with Sonya you kind of want to have the attack increasing effect. I pulled her like super recently, like 2 days ago, so definitely a unit you will be seeing more from me. Then one of my most typical offenses. I think this is currently my most used, highest win rate offense. I keep getting the question from time to time, why do you have Leo lead and not Feng Yang lead? Well, the thing is, Feng Yang or Leo tend to die because they are not fully built on defensive stat 100 res. Alaya is built on defensive stats 100 res, super slow. So for that reason, Alaya is very unlikely to die out, and it's just better to have that slight extra stats on the Theomars and on the, or not on the Theomars, on the Feng Yang and on the Leo, because Alaya just simply said she doesn't need it. That's just it. And this Feng Yang is of course the same hard hitting Feng Yang that I've been hitting like 20, well, 5k per, I think, yeah, defense buff, defense break. He hits like 8k spur, so it's like 24k damage or some stuff. It's pretty nutty for that unit in general. And that my final hit of the day, somewhat of a more creative hit, somewhat of a more RTA style kind of hit. But in this case, I kind of was like, I don't think he has the chance to clear me with enough stuff. Like even if my Molly would straight up die here, I think I would have in the process killed 1 or 2 of his units already. And during the process, I would have been good to go anyways for just a Douglas solo at that point. So that was kind of my deal behind it. Most of the time when I use Douglas, I just switch to Douglas runes from my RTA set. Raijun, mostly not really a fan of, but kind of worked in this case, and I just wanted to have the Molly in there just to be safe. So yeah, that was a quick Siege video. Hope you guys did enjoy. I'll definitely be using more Sonya. I'm gonna try a few different builds as well. We've seen a few more offenses with Sonyas that we use, so definitely will be using a bunch more of those. Also, let me know in the comments, what's your Sonya offense, and what is just in general your strongest offense that you say like, hey, this is my to-go offense, always wins. Because for me, it used to be the Amber one, but the Amber one kind of sucks right now. I guess the Farad one with the Nefty still kind of counts. But the Amber one was just so much better if the robot doesn't decide to strip. Sure, you can of course go that with Tian as well, but then you cannot outspeed everything. So guys, let me know in the comments. Pretty curious. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.